second to none.
Because the black people in the States have gone through many of the things that I talk about, more so I would imagine than in most countries.
And said in was, "This is a crisis."
Curtis Mayfield, who was born over 8 decades ago, wrote music that inspired a generation and sparked a movement. Known as the gentle genius, he's widely regarded as one of the most influential figures in soul and socially conscious African-American music.
And we just keep on keeping on.
But like many greats, there's more to his story than what the public saw. It turns out that behind all his success, there were some hidden truths that fans had no idea about. And now, decades later, those secrets might finally be coming to light. Let's dive in and take a closer look. Curtis Mayfield is often remembered for his funky hits like Superfly, but his impact went far beyond the world of funk. Long before he brought the groove to the 70s, Curtis was already making waves as a voice for change. He played a pivotal role in the civil rights movement, using his music to inspire, unite, and empower a generation fighting for equality. Let's rewind to 1964. The civil rights movement was in full swing. Martin Luther King Jr. was leading the charge, and the March on Washington had taken place just a year earlier, spreading hope and demanding justice. Around the same time, Curtis Mayfield and the Impressions released a song that would become the unofficial anthem of the movement, "Keep on Pushing."
Keep on pushing.
This wasn't just any song, it was a declaration, a reminder that even when the odds felt insurmountable, you had to keep moving forward. Dr. King himself adopted the song as a rallying cry, and it became a staple at civil rights events. Curtis and the Impressions weren't just making music, they were making history. Their songs gave people strength and hope during one of the most turbulent times in American history, making them some of the first R&B artists to infuse their music with a strong social message. As the civil rights movement began to evolve in the late 60s, so did Mayfield's music. By 1967, the conversation had shifted from seeking equality to embracing Black power and Black pride. And Curtis was right there with it, releasing "We're a Winner." The song was bold, unapologetic, and dripping with confidence. It became an anthem for self-respect and empowerment, urging Black Americans to embrace their worth and stand tall in the face of adversity. Mayfield's music wasn't just background noise for the movement, it was fuel. His lyrics lifted spirits and gave people something to believe in. Songs like "Keep on Pushing" and "We're a Winner" weren't just catchy tunes. They were rallying cries, encouraging people to keep fighting for justice and equality. But standing up for what's right always comes with pushback. Curtis's music, with its unapologetic stance on racial equality and Black pride, didn't sit well with everyone. While many embraced his message, others, especially those resistant to change, criticized him. Some accused him of being too political, too bold, too willing to shake the status quo. Yet Curtis never wavered. He believed in the power of music to unite people and inspire change. He knew that songs could do more than entertain. They could educate, empower, and spark revolutions. Back in the day, Harlem wasn't just a neighborhood. It was like its own world. Sure, it was rough around the edges. The streets were full of all kinds of hustlers, from drug dealers to pimps and number runners. It wasn't exactly the most glamorous place, with its burned-out buildings and trash-covered lots. But somehow, all that grit and chaos turned Harlem into the perfect setting for some of the coolest crime movies of the era. It all kicked off in 1970 with Cotton Comes to Harlem, a wild mix of comedy and action based on Chester Himes's novel. That movie opened the floodgates, and suddenly, Harlem was the backdrop for a wave of films that captured the spirit of the streets. Over the next few years, we got classics like Shaft, Come Back Charleston Blue, Across 110th Street, and Gordon's War. These weren't just regular movies. They were raw, edgy, and full of style, bringing the energy of Harlem to life on the big screen. At the time, people didn't call them Blaxploitation films yet, but that's exactly what they were becoming. A new wave of cinema that put Black stories, characters, and culture front and center. These movies were gritty, unapologetic, and packed with action, and they quickly became the go-to entertainment at struggling theaters across the country. For a lot of people, these films weren't just about the action. They were about seeing themselves represented on screen in a way Hollywood hadn't done before. Of course, you can't talk about these films without talking about the music. The soundtracks were just as important as the movies themselves. In 1971, Stax Records legend Isaac Hayes set the tone with his groundbreaking soundtrack for Shaft. His groovy, orchestral funk score became an instant classic, giving the movie an unforgettable vibe and earning him an Academy Award. But in 1972, Curtis Mayfield took things to a whole new level with the soundtrack for Superfly. If Hayes built the foundation, Mayfield turned it into a skyscraper of pure soul. The Superfly album was more than just a soundtrack. It was a masterpiece in its own right. Curtis combined slick, funky grooves with lyrics that told raw, unfiltered stories about life on the streets, from the struggles of addiction to the hustle for survival. Tracks like Pusher Man and Freddy's Dead weren't just catchy. They were like mini documentaries set to music.
I'm sure all would agree that his misery. I gotta get mellow, y'all. Gotta be mellow now.
The album was a massive hit, selling 5 million copies in the 70s alone, and it cemented Curtis Mayfield's place as a musical genius. Superfly, the debut film of director Gordon Parks Jr., carried a lot of weight even before it hit the screen. Gordon's father, Gordon Parks Sr., was already a legendary figure, an internationally celebrated photographer and the groundbreaking director of Shaft, one of the first films to bring the swagger and grit of Blaxploitation to mainstream audiences. With that kind of legacy, Gordon Jr. had big shoes to fill, and he didn't disappoint. The film followed the story of Priest, a slick, stylish drug dealer who dreams of leaving the hustler's life behind. His plan? To pull off one last massive deal, a big score worth a cool $1 million in cash, and escape the dangerous game with his girlfriend Georgia. The trailer's voiceover hyped it up as the ultimate hustle. A big score, $1 million in cash. Yeah, the big one.
It's a big score. $1 million in cash. Yeah, the big one.
The premise alone was enough to draw attention, but it wasn't just the story that made Superfly a cultural flashpoint. The film sparked controversy almost immediately, largely because of its portrayal of drug use. Priest and his partner Eddie didn't just dabble in it was a central part of their world, and the liberal use of coke throughout the movie didn't sit well with everyone. Critics argued that the film, along with others in the blaxploitation genre, reinforced negative stereotypes about black life. They worried it painted black communities as riddled with crime, drugs, and moral decay, playing into harmful narratives that did more harm than good. But Curtis Mayfield, the mastermind behind the film's iconic soundtrack, wasn't having any of that criticism. He believed the music and the movie were grounded in reality. For him, the songs like Pusher Man and Freddy's Dead weren't glamorizing drugs or crime. They were shining a spotlight on the harsh truths of urban life. Mayfield used his music to tell stories that were often ignored, peeling back the layers of systemic issues like poverty, racism, and a lack of opportunities that pushed people into lives of crime. In an interview with Jet magazine in October 1972, Mayfield defended his work with a statement that still resonates in conversations about art and representation today. "I don't see why people are complaining about the subject of these films," he said. "The way you clean up the films is by cleaning up the streets. The music and movies of today are the conditions that exist. You change music and movies by changing the conditions." In other words, Curtis saw his art as a mirror, reflecting the realities of the streets. If the image in that mirror was uncomfortable, it wasn't the art that needed changing. It was the world it was portraying. Drama, it was a commentary on Curtis's career, was going smoothly until everything came crashing down. In August 1990, Curtis Mayfield's life took a devastating turn when tragedy struck during an outdoor concert at Wingate Field in Flatbush, Brooklyn. As he was being introduced to the crowd, a freak accident occurred. A piece of stage lighting equipment came crashing down, striking him. The impact left Mayfield paralyzed from the neck down, an unimaginable blow to a man whose music was not only his livelihood but his very essence. Overnight, the accident robbed him of his ability to play the guitar, an instrument that had been as much a part of his identity as his soulful voice and socially conscious lyrics. For most people, such a life-altering injury would have marked the end of their career, but Curtis Mayfield wasn't most people.
He said in was, "This is a crisis."
Even as he faced the daunting realities of life as a quadriplegic, he refused to let his creativity be silenced. Though he could no longer physically play the guitar, his mind remained sharp and his spirit stayed resilient. Mayfield found new ways to create music, dictating his compositions to collaborators who would help bring his ideas to life.
Mourn my not being able to play my guitar all the time. I'm sorry.
In the years following his accident, he proved his determination time and again. For example, while working on a remake of his classic hit Let's Do It Again, Mayfield managed to sing the second verse, lying on his back in the studio. It was a remarkable feat of both physical and emotional strength. Unable to sit upright or stand, he discovered that he could still sing by using gravity to help him breathe. By lying down, he let the weight of his chest work with his lungs to push air through his vocal cords. This innovative approach to recording culminated in his 1996 album, New World Order, a testament to his perseverance and talent. The process wasn't easy. Mayfield sometimes recorded his vocals one line at a time, carefully piecing songs together over weeks or even months. Despite these challenges, the album was a triumph, showcasing not just his enduring artistry, but his unbreakable will to create. However, life after the accident wasn't just about creative triumphs. It was also marked by significant struggles, particularly financial ones. The cost of Mayfield's medical care was astronomical, and without the ability to tour or perform in the traditional sense, generating income became a constant challenge. To make matters worse, he found himself entangled in disputes over his music royalties, a situation all too common for artists of his generation. For years, the music industry had been notorious for exploiting Black artists, many of whom signed unfavorable contracts early in their careers. These agreements often left them with little control over their work and even less financial security. Mayfield, despite his legendary status, was no exception. The royalties from his extensive catalog of hits should have provided him with financial stability, but ongoing disputes and industry practices made it difficult for him to fully reap the benefits of his own creations. Curtis Mayfield's life was a combination of triumphs and trials, and even in his final years, he continued to receive the recognition he so richly deserved. In 1994, he was honored with the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award, a fitting tribute to a career that had not only shaped music, but also inspired social change. The award showed the enduring legacy of his artistry and the impact of his socially conscious songs, which had resonated with generations. However, as the years went on, Mayfield's health challenges became increasingly severe. By February 1998, complications from diabetes forced doctors to amputate his right leg. It was another devastating blow for a man who had already endured so much, but Mayfield's spirit remained unshaken. Despite these struggles, his influence and contributions to music continued to be celebrated. On March 15, 1999, he was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame alongside musical legends like Paul McCartney, Bruce Springsteen, Billy Joel, and the Staple Singers, who had once been signed to his Curtom label. Unfortunately, his health prevented him from attending the ceremony in person. His name was mentioned alongside giants, and his work stood as a testament to his genius. In the late 1990s, Mayfield made what would be his final contribution to recorded music. He appeared on Bran Van 3000's track Astounded from their album Discosis, released in 2001. The song was built around archived recordings of his vocals, including snippets from his classic hit Move On Up. Though Mayfield's health had significantly deteriorated by then, his unmistakable voice still carried the same power and soul that had defined his career. On December 26, 1999, Curtis Mayfield passed away at the age of 57 due to complications from type 2 diabetes. He died at North Fulton Regional Hospital in Roswell, Georgia, leaving behind a legacy that would forever be etched in music history. Mayfield's personal legacy extended far beyond his music. He was survived by his loving wife, Althida, who had stood by him through his most challenging years. His family included his mother, Miriam Jackson, two sisters, Carolyn Falls and Judy Mayfield, a brother, Kenneth, and his 10 children, who carried forward his memory. At the time of his passing, he was also a proud grandfather to 7 grandchildren. Curtis Mayfield wasn't just a musical legend. He was a pioneer who changed the way Black artists approached their craft. He was one of the first mainstream R&B performers to blend social commentary seamlessly into his music, creating what many call message music. During the tumultuous 1960s and 1970s, when the fight for civil rights and racial equality was at its peak, Mayfield's work struck a chord with audiences. His music wasn't just entertainment, it was a rallying cry, a source of empowerment, and a reminder of the struggles and triumphs of the Black community. One of the most fascinating aspects of Mayfield's artistry was his unique approach to playing the guitar. Completely self-taught, he developed his own method by tuning his guitar to the black keys of a piano. This gave his guitar an open F-sharp tuning, which became his signature sound and remained with him throughout his career. It was this innovative approach that helped his music stand out, creating a distinct and soulful resonance that set him apart from his peers. Mayfield's talents didn't stop at his guitar skills. He was also known for his angelic falsetto voice, which added an ethereal quality to his socially charged lyrics. His ability to combine powerful messages with stunning vocal delivery made him a once-in-a-generation artist. His influence extended far and wide, leaving an indelible mark on some of the greatest names in music. Artists like Jimi Hendrix, Bob Marley, Marvin Gaye, Stevie Wonder, Tracy Chapman, Sly Stone, and even Sinead O'Connor all drew inspiration from his groundbreaking work. Whether it was his heartfelt lyrics, innovative guitar techniques, or his fearless tackling of social issues, Mayfield's artistry resonated across genres and generations. Even decades after his passing, Mayfield's impact continued to be celebrated. In 2017, Lionel Richie made headlines when it was announced that he had secured the rights to produce a biographical film about Mayfield. Richie, a legendary musician in his own right, expressed deep admiration for Mayfield's work, calling him a one-of-a-kind music genius. Speaking about the project, Richie said, "I'm so grateful to be working closely with Althida Mayfield, Curtis's widow, his son Shay, and the Curtis Mayfield estate. This is a story that deserves to be told, and I couldn't be happier to help bring it to life." Curtis Mayfield's legacy isn't just about the groundbreaking music he created. It's also about the immense recognition he garnered over the years. Take, for instance, the Impressions' 1965 hit song, "People Get Ready," written by Mayfield. This timeless track, with its uplifting message and soulful melody, has been hailed as one of the greatest songs ever written.
So people get ready for the train.
In fact, a panel of 20 esteemed songwriters and producers, including legends like Paul McCartney, Brian Wilson, and Hal David, ranked it among the top 10 best songs of all time, as reported by Britain's Mojo Music magazine. It's the kind of song that doesn't just stay on playlists, it gets passed down through generations as an anthem of hope and resilience. Another major recognition came in 2019 when Mayfield's Superfly soundtrack was selected for preservation by the Library of Congress in the National Recording Registry. This honor is reserved for works deemed culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant, and it's no surprise that Superfly made the cut. The album not only defined the sound of an era, but also served as a powerful commentary on the realities of urban life in the 1970s. Mayfield's contributions with the Impressions also continue to receive widespread acclaim. Two of their most beloved tracks, "People Get Ready" and "For Your Precious Love," were ranked on Rolling Stone's list of the 500 greatest songs of all time, coming in at number 24 and number 327, respectively. These songs are more than just hits. They're enduring pieces of art that reflect Mayfield's ability to blend heart, soul, and meaning into every lyric and melody. His influence as a guitarist is equally undeniable. Rolling Stone recognized his innovative guitar work by placing him at number 34 on their list of the 100 greatest guitarists of all time. He's also featured on their more recent list of the 250 greatest guitarists of all time, this time at number 48. These rankings highlight his unique self-taught style and the way he revolutionized guitar tuning and technique. But it wasn't just his guitar playing that earned him accolades. Mayfield's voice, a delicate yet powerful falsetto, also earned a place on Rolling Stone's list of the 200 greatest singers of all time at number 38, as well as their list of the 100 greatest singers of all time at number 40. His ability to convey deep emotion and meaning through his vocals made him one of the most distinctive singers of his era. As a songwriter, Mayfield's contributions are just as impressive. He was ranked number 178 on Rolling Stone's list of the 100 greatest songwriters of all time. His lyrics, often infused with messages of empowerment and social awareness, showcased his unparalleled ability to turn personal and collective struggles into universal anthems. When it comes to albums, Mayfield's work has also stood the test of time. His Superfly soundtrack was ranked number 172 on Rolling Stone's list of the 500 greatest albums of all time, a testament to its impact not only on music, but also on culture. Additionally, his debut solo album, Curtis, earned a spot at number 275 on the same list, while the Impressions anthology album, The Anthology 1961 to 1977, was ranked at number 179. Each of these records captures a different facet of Mayfield's genius, from his socially conscious songwriting to his innovative production techniques. In 2004, Rolling Stone further solidified Mayfield's place in music history by ranking him number 198 on their list of the 100 greatest artists of all time. This honor is particularly significant because it recognizes not just his contributions as a musician, but also his broader impact on the music industry and culture.